and how I'm sewing these together, but you can use whichever method you want. I'm just going to do a simple like an over. I'm just going to sew it together quickly. I'm just going to pick up one stitch and pick up the one stitch on the other side. Now if you did it with live stitches, you could easily graft it, but so I'm just doing like an over under type thing. I think you would call it a whip stitch. Okay, so the first two are just attached together. Okay. And I go ahead and I weave the end in when I get done with stitching this end. Because you're going to hide this portion of it once you're putting it together. Or at least I do anyway. Just stitch it across. Once you get these two, the first two strips sewed into a circle, that's when the weaving or braiding comes into play. Okay, once you have this last stitch stitched, I go ahead and I weave in this end, which I just go in and out of it, and then do on the end, and I do about an inch or so. And trim it. Now these two, you're gonna kind of get so it's a little curved like that. Now these two are, you're gonna hold like this. Okay. Let's see if I can get it back and see more. Okay, so you got the two circles. Take your second strip. You're going to go over the first one, under the second one. Okay, pull it so it's like about halfway. Then how I do it is I kind of flip it over, and if I went under this one, which is the second one, I'm going to go over it on that side and under, so it looks kind of like this. Now this and this I will seam together, and I do seam it as I go. If you don't want to, you can pin it together and seam it all at once, which if it's the first time you've done it, go ahead and pin it together like that. Now if you let it fall like that, it's still right, but it's more, let's see, hang on, I always get weird when this, Now what you might want to do to make it a little bit easier so it doesn't get strange on you, take your clips and pin those two together. Okay. And just hook these two together. So it'll look kind of like that. Okay, so that'll be the first one. And if you're going to go ahead and pin it, you want to go under and over about halfway. Pull your strip out and go ahead and pin it. That seems to be about, it may make it a little easier for you. Okay, and let's go ahead and pin it. These pins will come out afterwards. Okay, so now you got it looking like that, with these two straight through. All right. Now you flip it over, and you got it looking like this. So where you went under on this side, you want to make it go over on this side. And bring out your clips. So get that same strip. You went over on this side, so you want it to go under on that side. Okay, and hang on, let me get some more strips. I mean some more pins. There we go. So I go ahead and I'll go ahead and pin this one here. Okay, and then do the yellow one. I went over on this one, so I'm going to go under on that one, so I'm not going to mess with that one just yet. Okay, so it's over and under. And since I'm pinning it, I'll pin it to that. Now I'll go ahead and, later on, I'll go ahead and slide this one so it's under, so it's being hidden. Now if you want, you can go ahead and seam that together. But if you want to make sure you've done it right, just pin it together like that. Okay? And you go ahead and pin this one together. Alright, now you got to put in the second one. So you kind of got a box created where you got the braid here and the braid on this side and two straight sides on the other side. Think of a Rubik's Cube. Alright, that's how I conquered this. So, see, this is an over, so I want this one an under. Okay, do about halfway and go ahead and pin it. Okay, and that one's an over. So this is going to have to be an under. So I don't have that many more pins, so I'm going to share pins here. I'll get the shape all straightened out afterwards. So now I'm going to flip it straight over, and I'm going to use these two. Okay. So I went over. I want to go under this one to be over the green and under the white one. And it's, see where it's under this one? So I'm going to go over this one, under the green one, and that'll get seamed together. Okay, now I got one last one. Now that was on that strip. Excuse my long pieces of hair here. Okay, see where I went over here? I'm going to be going under there. Alright, then I'm going to go over the green and under the blue. Over the white and under the green. See, the green's not sewed together yet, but because I got it hooked together. Okay. And then I'll seam that together. And believe it or not, once I get all the seams done, that will be it. So I'm going to pick up my pink. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to pull it tight. It's going to look weird until I get it seamed. Okay, and I'll pull out my thread, my long end that I left when I put it together. Size up my sides. Okay, and then seam this together. And I'm just doing it because I did a cast off on both pieces. I'm just going to do a slip stitch to hook it together. And I'm just slipping it with the outside stitch. Now you can go ahead and weave this end in as you're going if you want to. It's totally up to yourself. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. Excuse me. And I'm just putting it together with a whip stitch, because once I'm done, I'm gonna slide the ends around until they are in an under position. You know, so they're underneath one of the other strips. And I'm just weaving that in, and as I go, just catching it up with the whip stitch. I'm going to do this to each of my ends. I'm also going to do a short video on doing it on the machine. Now when I do it on the machine, I'll probably do a grafting type end rather than and when I get done, I will cut off that short little bit and weave in the tail I'm working on, or working with. It gets a little tight because you only got a little bit to work with. Okay, so cut off my tail and cut off my yarn. Take out and just give it a little bit of tug. Now, it's going to be a little bit misshaped until you get it done. Then pick out another color, which I'll do green this time. There it is. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and sew all these ends in, which I'll just line up the colors, pin it to hold it, and do the whip stitch across. Do that for each of the ends, for like the gray, for strips 1 through 6. And I'll be back, and then I'll show you how I make it look like right now it looks like a mess. But once I get it, all the circles even, it'll look right. I'll be back in a moment.